Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're kicking things off with a twist on a famous George Carlin quote. You probably know the original. It's a big club and you're not in it. But honestly, based on the material we're exploring today, it perfectly captures the core theme. To say it's actually a little club. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the architecture of elite secrecy, and we are going to untangle an incredibly complex web of associations.
Welcome to The Explainer. Over the next few minutes, we're going to objectively trace some absolutely wild claims made in a recent and frankly fascinating interview with John Kiriakou. Now, Kiriakou is a former CIA officer, and his extensive background in intelligence provides the foundation for the sweeping theories we'll be examining today. We'll map out the information systematically, starting from the visceral shock of the Epstein file revelations all the way out to overarching theories on global intelligence operations. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump in.
All right, Section 1, the Epstein file revelations. Let's break this down by the numbers.
The source material highlights the intense visceral shock of the communications found within these files. But what really stands out is the staggering volume of data. For instance, 11,500. That is the number of emails inexplicably exchanged between Jeffrey Epstein and Catherine Rumler. And keep in mind, Rumler served as the White House counsel during the Obama administration. So naturally, this raises some severe questions about the judgment of someone serving as the president's personal legal advisor, spending that much time messaging this particular individual.
But that 11,500, it's literally just a drop in the bucket compared to what we aren't seeing. An estimated 3.3 million documents remain completely withheld from the public. And this is despite aggressive legislative demands. We're talking about a bill passed 419-1 in the House and 99-0 in the Senate. Yet officials are reportedly still refusing to release the remaining files. Kiriakou theorizes that this level of sheer defiance simply has to be dictated from much higher up the chain of command.
Moving on to Section 2, Elite Enablers and Excuses. Let's look at the public defenses. When we organize the chaotic web of elite figures tied to this network, a truly bewildering pattern of public excuses emerges. The elite inner circle reacted in highly unusual ways when their associations came to light. For example, constitutional attorney Alan Dershowitz claimed his defense was that he kept his underwear on, and later argued in an interview that if Epstein was a spy, he could have just gone to the White House for leniency. Or consider billionaire Les Wexner, the richest man in Ohio, who inexplicably handed over power of attorney to a 7th-grade substitute math teacher who never even finished college. Then you have British politician Peter Mandelson, who claimed complete ignorance until a highly compromising photograph surfaced. The pattern of these defenses defies basic logic. Which brings us to Section 3, the intelligence connection. Is this a shield of impunity? So how do these individuals seemingly get away with this? Well, Kiriakou theorizes that these elite networks are shielded by deep, complex ties to global intelligence agencies. During Epstein's 2006 sweetheart deal, the U.S. attorney handling the case allegedly stated he was ordered to back off because he was told Epstein belonged to intelligence. Kiriakou actually takes this a step further, asserting his belief that Epstein operated as an access agent for Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. Furthermore, Catherine Rumler reportedly tried to set up private lunches repeatedly between Epstein and then CIA Director John Brennan. Speaking of John Brennan, the interview highlights a very specific and, honestly, a very serious theory. Kiriakou suggests that Rumler's close ties with the CIA director stemmed from her alleged participation in highly classified kill list meetings. These meetings reportedly took place every single Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. to legally authorize covert assassinations. This connection fundamentally blurs the lines between elite legal fixers and covert intelligence operations. And that leads us right into Section 4, the Supra government theory, power beyond national borders. This theory, heavily analyzed in The Source and famously championed by Tucker Carlson, hinges on one crucial concept. It's the idea that the public leaders you see every single day on the news actually report to a hidden layer of power. This so-called Supra government is allegedly orchestrating global events from behind the scenes, completely insulated from any democratic oversight. This basically creates a totally different global hierarchy. On one side, we have the visible figureheads, presidents, prime ministers, kings, and the United Nations. But on the other side, the alleged supergovernment is made up of global bankers, financiers, and shadowy fixers. The discussion explicitly points to organizations like the Trilateral Commission and the Davos Group, noting that attendees at these exclusive gatherings don't just mingle, they actively manage global economies and coordinate massive international arms deals.
Moving to Section 5, Funding the Global Machine. Let's talk about the defense budget.
To really understand how this alleged structure anchors its immense power, the interview follows the money. The financial engine driving it all is the U.S. Pentagon budget, which currently sits at a staggering $1 trillion. And to put that into perspective, a full third of that massive sum is dedicated strictly to weapons and weapons systems.
Now, you might be wondering, how does a budget that huge remain so completely untouchable? To illustrate how systemic this machine is, the source points to a Washington Post analysis. It reveals that defense manufacturing is intentionally distributed across all 435 congressional districts. By embedding supply chains into local economies everywhere, they effectively eliminate any political incentive for any member of Congress to ever vote to cut the defense budget. It's a remarkably efficient loop, right?
Finally, we reach Section 6, Covert Ops and Public Trust, Manipulating Outcomes. To see how this manipulation actually works in practice, the explainer maps out the very first admitted CIA covert operation. In the 1949 Italian elections, there was a power vacuum, and communists were leading the polls. The CIA covertly delivered $150,000 to the Conservative Party, which was largely used to bribe journalists into writing pro-conservative articles. And it worked. The election swung. This totally grounds the abstract talk of intelligence manipulation into a highly specific, declassified historical example.
But here's the fascinating part. It's actually not totally impenetrable. Despite this immense power and historical hubris, modern investigative journalists navigate this system using a reliable, step-by-step legal loophole to force the release of classified information. By filing a Freedom of Information Act or FOIA request, they wait the mandatory 60 days. Because intelligence agencies routinely ignore these requests, journalists then sue. The law is so crystal clear that the journalists win by default, forcing the agency to release the information and cover the legal fees. It's a literal forced window into the secrecy.
Which brings us to our final thought. Based on the existential risks to global power structures we've discussed today, what are we supposed to take away from all of this? If this Supra government, this little club, truly exists and operates through intelligence shields and massive financial manipulation, what happens when their darkest secrets finally see the light of day? Does the system reform itself, or does it risk a complete collapse? It's a pretty provocative question to leave you with, and one that we may be entirely unprepared to answer. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.